What is up, everyone? Welcome to my video. This is a Java tutorial for beginners. So if you're watching this video, I'm assuming you're currently learning Java and you just started. So in this video, we are going to be printing out this sentence. So we're going to print out the sentence that says, my name is Siviwe Karaza. I'm 20 years old and my net worth is $55.99. Now, the reason I'm doing this is I want to sort of introduce you to data types, strings, integers, and doubles. So this is the best way that I can actually show you when to use a certain data type. So in Java, we have a lot of data types, but for our use case, we're going to be using a string, which is for storing words or sentences, and we're going to be using an integer, which is called an int, which is for storing whole numbers, like numbers without a comma. And also we have a double, which is for storing numbers with commas. So for example, 88.67. So an integer would store a number like 100, and an int, a string, would store words like hello world. Cool. So let's go ahead and build this sentence using Java. So first we're gonna define my name, and I'm gonna make this private. I'm gonna say private static string name. So the variable name is called name. The data type is a string. Cool. So we're gonna assign that to my name, which is Siviwe Karaza. Cool. The next thing we wanna do, we wanna define my age. So also I'm gonna make that private as well. Static. And remember, it has to be an integer because it's a whole number. So int, I'm just going to give it a name of age, and I'm going to say it's equals to 20. And also we want to define my net worth. Private static. Now this time it's going to be a double because the number has a comma, is a decimal number. Double net worth is equals to 55.99. Cool. Now we have to build the string. So we can simply say system dot out dot print line, and I'm gonna say, it says my name is, I'm gonna put my name here, the name variable, this one. So this is called concatenating a string. It's like you're creating a chain of different words to build an entire sentence. Like here, as you can see here, these are different parts, and they all come together to build one sentence. So it's called string concatenation. And I'm gonna put a space here. Oh, we have a comma. There's a comma, and I am, and again we put my age, and then again quotation marks. Now the quotation marks are very important because we want to print this out on we want to print we're actually defining a new string here by putting everything in quotation marks. So this is being initialized here, it's being defined here, and this is another string, and I'm also going to be initializing another string here. I am 20 years old word is cool. Now make sure that you write this within your main function, because this is what the Java compiler actually runs. Java runs this method. So I'm gonna go ahead and press run here and see if we get that sentence that is in our use case. And as you can see here, we get the sentence. Now what if we had a list of people that we wanted to print out their name, their age, and their net worth? Now as you can obviously see, this file would then become a real mess if we wanted, for example, to print out 5 sentences, each sentence belonging to one user. So this file, for each and every user, would have to define these 3 variables, and that is not efficient. It is not good at all to do. So now we are going to get into the concept of object-oriented programming. Cool. So in order to achieve that, we would have to create a class. So I'm gonna go ahead and create a class, a new Java class. I'm gonna call this person. Now each class has an attribute belonging to a person. For example, for our use case, each person has a name, an age, and a net worth. So this is a person. So this class represents a person. Therefore, it should have the attributes of a person. So in our case, a person has a private string name. They have a private int age, and they have a private double net worth. Cool. So now this is a person. So basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to avoid defining a person's attributes in our main class, in this case in the intro.java class, the class that has the main function. I don't want to do that because it would become a mess if we have more people coming in, or if we want to define more persons. So we have to build our sentence here. Everything like this function has to be here, or we'll see what to do. Okay, so now we have to find a way to set the name of this person, the age, and the net worth. So we're gonna use getters and setters for that. Sorry about that. So we're gonna use getters and setters. So getters are for getting the attributes, and setters are for setting the attributes. So these are just simple functions. So let me write a getter for the name. So public, it's returning a string, get name, cool. And for the age, public, and it's returning an integer, int get age. Return age. And also for the net worth, public, and it's returning a double, public double, sorry about the chickens outside. Return net worth. Cool. Now we're able to get the attributes of the person, but for now we can't set them. So what we need to do is we need to create setters as well. And how do we do that? It's the same thing. Let me define the setters here. Okay, these are getters, and I'm going to define setters now. Cool. So public void, because it doesn't return anything, at all. Public void sets name, and it'll take a string as an argument, which is a name. So an argument is something that you give a function within the I don't know how to define an argument, but you'll see it a lot as I build the person object. So we want to set the name. Now notice that the variable name or the argument name that we're passing here is the same as the attribute name here. So we have the same name within one class. So how do we distinguish between this and this is like so. So what we want to do is we want to set this name to whatever we pass here. But how do we tell Java that? Because if I just say name is equals to name, this is really confusing. Like, which name is this one, which name is this? So in order to refer to this one, we have to put this in the beginning. So now it's saying this name, the name within this class, is equals to this name, which is the one that we passing in the arguments. Cool. Now we've set the name, we also want to set the age as well. Public void set age, and we're gonna pass in an argument of an integer because our age is an int, and whatever we pass here has to be an int as well. So we're gonna say again this dot age is equals to age, and also we have to set our net worth. Public void sets net worth, and it's going to take a double, and I'm going to call it net worth also. Then see this these values, you can name them however you want to name them, but it's good practice to do what I did so that you don't get confused as to what to pass here, what to pass here, what to pass here. Yep, so we're gonna say this dot net worth is equals to net worth. Cool. Now we only have one thing missing, the constructor. So what is a constructor? A constructor is it's a function that is called whenever a new instance of a person or a class is created. So how would we create a new instance of a person? If we come here and remove everything because we don't need this anymore, and I say person P is equals to new person. Now we have a new instance of this class. It's not exactly this class, it's just a copy of it, because we can create another person here. Let's call this person 1, and let's call this person 2 is equals to new person. So now we have two persons, we have two people here. So now you're starting to see why object-oriented programming is important. So if we wanted to define 100 people, now we don't have to define variables for each person, like a name, age, and net worth for each person. We're just going to create a copy of this person and just say, okay, for this copy, the name, I want the name to be for example, John, and the age to be 50, the net worth to be 100,000. And for person 2, I want to create another copy of the same file, and I want the name to be severe, with the age to be 20, the net worth to be 55.99. So you see why this is very useful. I don't have to explain why this is so useful. It's just obvious. So for person 1, for P1, now for each person, I am now able to access these functions, set the getters and setters. So for person 1, I want to set their name, set name, shouldn't have done that. This should be within the main function, and I'm gonna say P1 dot set name. I'm gonna call this one Siviwe Aza. P1 dot set age. It's gonna be 20. Now notice that I'm passing a string here because I put my word within quotation marks, so automatically Java reads that as a string. I don't have to first define string, like I don't have to do this. Like, no, I don't have to do that and then pass a sieve here. Just put my word in quotation marks and Java will know that that is a string. Same goes for age. Just put a whole number that isn't in quotation marks, a number that doesn't have a comma, and Java will automatically read that as an integer. Like if I put a comma here, you see that I'll get an error because this function is expecting an int. Cool. Now I have to set my net worth. Set to be 99.99. Cool. So now P1 is actually me. Now let me define P2. P2 dot set name. I'm gonna put my girlfriend's name here. And P2 dot set age. She's only 18. Oh, man. And I'm gonna set her net worth. Cool. Now within let me show you something now really cool. I'm gonna print out my name and my girlfriend's name. So I'm gonna print out P1 dot get name remember that's returning the name of the first person. Okay, I'm gonna say my name is Siviwe. It's gonna say Siviwe Karaza, and my girls P2 dot get name. Cool. So let me run this. Cool. As you can see here, my name is Siviwe Karaza and my girl's name is Norway. So we can define 1000 people using the same person class. Like for example, now we're able to print net worth, my girls. Let me print age. Get age. And it's gonna print my age and my girl's age. Cool. So now this is called object-oriented programming. Now you see the problem with this. We don't want to set our attributes like this every time we create a new object of a person or a new instance of a person. So for this, I'm going to use constructors. So a constructor will allow us to set the values as we initialize the object. So this is where we're initializing the objects. So a constructor will allow us to pass parameters here that will then initialize this object, the copy of the object. Cool. So for a constructor is this is how you define a constructor. It's public and then the name of the class. In this case, the name of the class is person. And this is called an overloaded constructor because we're gonna pass parameters in here. So we wanna get a string. I'm gonna call this name. We wanna get an integer. I'm gonna call it age, and we wanna get a double, which I'm gonna call net worth. And then what I'm gonna do with these parameters, I'm gonna say this dot name is equals to name. So this name, this one, is equals to this one. Cool. And I'm gonna say this dot age is equals to age, and this dot net worth is equals to net worth. So it's pretty much the same thing as setters, but the advantage of a constructor is it sets your attributes as you create the object. So let me show you how to do that. So as you can see here already, Java is complaining because we don't have a default constructor. So a default constructor would be a constructor that doesn't accept any parameters. Let me define that here. So it's gonna just be public person. Cool. You see that the error will go away. So Java, if you don't pass anything within your parameters here, it's just gonna use this default constructor, and it's just gonna create a copy of person that is empty, that doesn't have attributes. You would then have to use the setters to set your name, to set your age, your net worth, and your name. But for person 1, let me use an overloaded constructor, and for person 2, I'm gonna use a default constructor. So it's just gonna be a blank copy of a person, and I'm gonna try to print the age of person 1 and the age of person 2. You see the difference. So it's the overloaded constructor first takes a string which is name. I'm going to call it Suriwe, and also it takes a number which is age. I'm going to say I'm 20, and also it expects a double, which is a number with a comma. Now look, if I put a comma here, it's going to complain because the second parameter is an integer in the overloaded constructor. See, so it's expecting an int, so that has to be an integer. So basically what I've did here, I've saved the hassle of saying p1.setName and then put my name in, p1.setAge and then pass my age there. I've actually defined person here with this just one line of code, and it's so convenient. So if I try to run this, it's gonna get the age of p1, but it's not gonna get the age of p2 because we haven't defined the age of p2. We're only using for p2 we're using a default constructor. So what Java does is for each integer, if you don't define it, it will assign it to a 0. So that's why p2 is returning 0. But if I say p2 dot sets age 100 and then run that, you see it's getting my age, which is 20, and it's getting 100 for my girlfriend's age, which is the 100 that we assigned to person 2 via the setter function. Cool. So I personally think it's better to firstly define your object here using an overloaded constructor, and then you can change the values later, maybe as you perform certain calculations and functions within each object, within each person. Cool. So I'm gonna use an overloaded constructor here as well. And if I run that, so now both instances, I'm gonna use the word instance and objects a lot. So both of the person instances are using the overloaded constructor, this constructor instead of this one. So now as you can see, this is working fine. So this has been an introduction to Java. On the next video, we're gonna dive into a bit complex topics. We're gonna look at arrays. We're gonna look at different functions. We're gonna be performing calculations. And if you like this video, just click like and click subscribe. And thank you for watching.